It's Kyle here. Today I'll be reviewing A Place Called Freedom by Ken Follett. For long-time viewers of WeReadBooks will be very much aware that Ken Follett is one of my favorite authors. I've reviewed a couple of his books on here in the past. In fact, I'll link those reviews in the description box below. I love Ken Follett. Really have never read a book of his that I really didn't enjoy. And A Place Called Freedom is definitely a great book. I really enjoyed it. The basic plot is it's set in the 1760s. The main character is Mac. When the book starts out, you find Mac as a coal miner in Scotland. And in that period of time in Scotland, if you were a coal miner, you were basically a slave. And Mac yearns for freedom and be able to control his own life and kind of escape this horrible working conditions and basically slavery that he finds himself in. Through the help of a special young lady in the book, which kind of becomes a big role in Mac's life throughout the book, he's able to escape that and make his way to London, where he finds himself working in the docks in London. Better working conditions than coal mining in Scotland, but it's a small step up, but it's still, pretty poor conditions. He gets involved in the struggles between the working class and the owners of the industries they're working in and stuff. He's like I said, Mac is constantly trying to improve his station life, constantly trying to just make his life better and, like I said, have more control over it and really get some freedom over his life instead of being controlled by others. Like many people in that era, that ends up leading him to a life in the New World in America. Now, how Mac ends up in America is a little different than most immigrants of that time. I won't get into too much details about that because I'll ruin a key kind of plot twist to the book, but basically Mac ends up in America. I'm not ruining too much the way description because all that stuff's kind of discussed on the back of the book. So you know from the start that Mac starts out in Scotland. Eventually he makes it to America. So like I said, not ruining anything. But like I said, the things that I really enjoyed about this book, it really does have a really strong central theme of a character who's starting out with not much freedom, has very little control over in his life, and he's just yearning for that simple human desire of having freedom and having the ability to control his own life. So really, even though this is kind of a historical novel set in the 1760s, that's really a feeling I think anybody can relate to at any time period. I think everybody's always yearned to be able to control their own life and their own situations. So I think it's kind of a universal theme that most people can relate to. So even if you're not typically into novels set in historical settings, I think you can still find something to relate to in this book. Mac is a very interesting character. He's very well developed. Ken Follett, I think that's one of his best talents. He really writes characters in such a way that you really become very attached to them. The heroes of the books you become really attached to, but the other thing I think Ken Follett's really good, he writes villains in such a way that you really become very attached to the villains. Some of the villains are just so evil that you almost get mad when you read about them. So you really become very attached and interested in what's this villain going to do next to try to hurt the hero in this book. And Ken Follett is always excellent at that in any of the books he does. He continues that excellent tradition in A Place Called Freedom. So like I said, the characters are really well developed. You become very attached to them. Like I said, but I think the thing that makes this Ken Follett book a little more special than some of his others is that great universal theme of just, humanity's desire to have control and freedom over their own lives. And that's something you definitely find in A Place Called Freedom. So I would encourage you to go and read A Place Called Freedom. Like I said, I didn't get too much into the specific plot details because for a Ken Follett book, this is actually not super long. A lot of his books are a lot longer than this, so I felt if I got into any specific stuff, like I said, how he ended up in America, it kind of ruined some of the plot twist in it. But that's the basic idea behind the book. A young man, Mac, trying to improve his life, find some freedom for himself. Great book. Really encourage you to read it. If you've ever read another Ken Follett book and you enjoyed it, then you'll enjoy this one because, like I said, it very much falls in the line of a great Ken Follett book. So A Place Called Freedom by Ken Follett, and I hope you'll have a chance to read it soon and enjoy it.